Hello, Dr. Jennifer Redman here from Samsara Chiropractic Wellness Center. And today we're going to talk about dysregulated nervous systems. There's a lot of dysregulated nervous systems running around in the world today, and for very good reasons. And the problem with a dysregulated nervous system is that it makes it very difficult to make a really good decision. Actually, I'm going to change that. I'm going to say that when we are in a dysregulated state, our decisions are focused on surviving, purely surviving, and it's very self-centered in the sense that, not that that's a bad thing, but it's self-centered because in that moment, our brain is literally programmed to only care about our survival, not anybody else's. And if someone else needs to get hurt or die, our brain is literally programmed to keep us alive, and everyone else's brain is programmed to keep them alive. So when we have a dysregulated nervous system, we make great decisions for our own survival, but not necessarily the best decisions to thrive. So I'm going to tell you a little story. When I was 5, I was lucky enough to go to Italy with my family. And it was an amazing trip. I remember so much of it. One of the things that I remember, which wasn't so amazing, is we went to St. Peter's Basilica, and there was this bronze statue of St. Peter. And the legend is that if you touch St. Peter's feet, because in the Christian religion, St. Peter guards the gates of heaven. So if you touch St. Peter's feet, you would go straight to heaven when you die. Well, as a 5-year-old who took things very literally, as most 5-year-olds do, I only heard the part about going straight to heaven, and I was not ready to die yet. So my brain heard that I was going to heaven and thought, I am going to die if I touch his feet. Plus, his feet were pretty creepy looking, so my brain was already in a dysregulated state because I was freaked out. His feet had been touched by so many people that the toes were literally worn off. And you can Google pictures of this and you can see his feet look like ballet slippers. They don't have toes at all, even though they're bare feet. So as this little 5-year-old, I saw these worn off toes and I was really freaked out. And then my family was trying to force me to touch them, which just freaked me out even more. And this is a dysregulated nervous system right here. A perfect example of it. In that moment, my brain went into complete survival mode. I did not want to touch those feet, and I threw a complete meltdown tantrum in the middle of St. Peter's Basilica because there was this part of my brain that was convinced that I was going to die if I touched those feet. And the logical part of my brain shut off. I couldn't hear that part. I couldn't hear the part that was saying, but your family loves you. They wouldn't want you to die. All I could hear is that I was in mortal danger. Now, in that moment, for those parents out there, or people dealing with small children that do take things very literally, it's a great moment to step aside, to get your child to breathe, to focus on what's around them, that you're not dead now, that you're still here, give them a hug, do things that calm their nervous system down, and stop trying to force them into something that they're absolutely terrified because they can't process that in that moment. But, hindsight's 20/20, right? My parents didn't know that, and probably wasn't the best scenario either to take a moment to calm me down because there was probably a line, and, they were just excited about touching St. Peter's feet. But we have a lot of that running around in the world right now. You may even be experiencing this yourself, where there are certain topics that you get so upset about that it's very difficult to think clearly. And the only way that we can really think clearly is to take that moment, or few, or maybe a couple days, or maybe a couple weeks, and breathe and process those feelings, and let your nervous system know that in this particular moment, you are okay. You are not dying. You are not in mortal danger in this particular second. This is a part of our nervous system that was developed to protect us from immediate threats like a saber-toothed tiger, or someone, some mastodon that was about to trample us or something like that. But in today's world, it sometimes serves, it sometimes works against us, because when our nervous system is convinced that it's in mortal danger, we react and we may start fights. And the sympathetic nervous system has three primary responses, which is the part that is active when we get dysregulated. First of all, we could fight. So, you may notice that if you're in the fight version of your sympathetic nervous system, you get very defensive, or you argue, or you may even want to get your dukes up with somebody. And there's lots of different ways that we fight. And if you start to observe your own behavior, you can notice the ways that are particular to you and how you fight. Some people fight with passive aggression. Some people fight. We have all different ways as human beings of fighting back. But fight is one of our main responses. Another main response is freezing. Now, when we freeze, that's that deer in headlights. But it can also mean that your brain suddenly doesn't have any knowledge, any information, doesn't know how to respond, and you just sit there frozen. Or you try to make things okay because you don't know what to say in that moment, and because you're in a frozen state. You can't react appropriately. And then finally, flight. Flight is that run away and hide to protect yourself. And again, we do this in many different ways. So starting to build awareness around the ways that you are dysregulated, going into fight, flight, or freeze, allows you to take a moment, take a breath, get back regulated again, so that you can make an appropriate decision to handle the world around you. And I feel like with this information, we have a responsibility, because when you're in that dysregulated state, it can be very, very difficult even to recognize that you're in that dysregulated state unless you've practiced that. And so I invite you to master this, learn it, master it, and be that regulated nervous system for those who are currently dysregulated, so that we can hold the space for everyone to get regulated again. You can see how these dysregulated nervous systems, we watch the news, we get triggered, and that fires things up really, really quickly. But if we can take a moment to get regulated, and to take a moment and to hold space for others to get regulated, and to be a calm presence for them, we could really make a difference in the world. That is my contribution to you today. My heart is breaking about what is happening in the world right now, and all I can do is offer what I have, and that's what I have. Additionally, if you need some further coaching on this, or further ways to regulate your nervous system, I'm always available to you. And I love you all, and I wish you a happy, healthy day, and may peace come to us soon.